What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing!
You want healthy children. Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
Come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Priorité au direct, nous sommes place de la Concorde et nous suivons pas à pas le trajet du président américain élu Donald Trump. On était à Orly, on était porte d'Orléans et il arrive au cœur de Paris.
Ça y est, les gyrophares qui se rapprochent, place de la Concorde. Nous sommes non loin de l'Élysée où il sera reçu tout à l'heure Donald Trump par Emmanuel Macron à partir de 7.
I don't speak French, but let me interpret for you. The man is back in town. That's probably what they were saying. The man is back in town and we better protect him because the world needs Trump on his stage as he arrives in Paris for the Notre Dame Cathedral reopening. Big news, big. Obviously, everyone was waiting to see this happen back on the big stage. And now we know why he went to this event.
Donald Trump qui est présent pour assister aux célébrations de la réouverture de Notre-Dame. Patrick Sauce, c'est un événement qu'il ne voulait pas rater, on le rappelle, premier déplacement officiel depuis son élection.
Oui, et il passe tout près, mais a priori il ne va pas s'arrêter devant l'ambassade américaine, tout près de la place de la Concorde sur l'avenue Gabriel. On vous explique quand même les choses, c'est vraiment des images exclusive parce que la sécurité est telle que c'est impossible de le faire comme vous le voyez régulièrement sur BFM TV, sur le convoi à moto. Là, ils sont en train de partir. D'ailleurs, regardez, c'est l'ambassade américaine. Je reconnais les potelets qui sont là sur la droite de l'écran. Ils s'arrêtent, c'est l'avenue Gabriel.
I just love the way the French accent sounds, which I knew what they were saying. I really wish I knew what they were saying, but it's so beautiful.
Ils s'arrêtent. Vous avez l'hôtel de Crillon qui est juste sur la droite aussi. Donc, Donald Trump va bien à l'ambassade.
I think what he just said was, don't mess with this guy. I'm pretty sure he just told the French people, whoever were listening, don't F.A., and then you won't have to find out. I'm pretty sure that's what he just said.
Américaine, avenue Gabriel. Il va donc être reçu par Denise Bauer, qui est pour l'instant l'ambassadrice américaine.
Mais qui est en partance.
Qui est en partance. Vous savez que autant Joe Biden avait attendu quasiment un an avant d'avoir une nouvelle nomination à l'ambassade de Paris. Il y a quelque chose d'assez régulier, quels que soient les présidents, c'est que vous choisissez, c'est comme ça, les plus grands financiers ou financeurs de votre campagne, ou en tout cas des amis à Londres et à Paris. Et bien bien là, on rappelle, c'est Charles Lister, c'est le père de Jared Kushner, le père de Jared Kushner, le gendre de Donald Trump. Ce sera donc en famille. Il arrive presque chez lui, donc pour l'instant, c'est pas l'hôtel, c'est bien l'ambassade américaine tout près de la Concorde et à, 800 mètres de l'Élysée.
If you're like me, when you heard that Trump was going to this event over in Paris, you probably said, I'm not too comfortable with this. I don't really think Trump should be going overseas just for some, as beautiful as Notre Dame is, that he shouldn't just be going over to some cathedral opening. And it never dawned on me that it was probably something a lot more. Because if you've seen it, you know. By now you know. You're gonna blow it you're gonna be a spoiler in the chat. But if you haven't seen it, something happened on his way to the cathedral, per se. On his way to the cathedral, he stopped at, what's it called, the Elias, I don't know how you pronounce it, but where Macron lives. So we're going to watch him meet Macron, and we're going to talk about this. Now, just to let you know what's happening today, it's Saturday. I don't usually do a lot of stuff, but there's some news. And then after we cover the Trump visit to France, then I'm going to roll it right into the interview with Mark Mitchell, the head pollster at Rasmussen. So let's watch what happens here and comment along, and you guys will see how it goes here. So he shows up. And what I want you to pay particular attention throughout this video is the power that Trump shows whenever he grabs Macron's hand. This isn't the feeble, dementia Joe, here's my little handshake. It's like, grab that hand. You understand who's in charge here? You understand I'm the man and I'm back? Tell me if you don't see that when he starts grabbing this little guy's hand. Letting him know it's not like it was before. Nope, not going to be like that. And notice whose hand is above and whose hand is underneath. Trump knows the significance of a alpha male handshake. Look at the hand. The top hand is the alpha male. When you watch people shake hands, there's always going to be one guy who takes the hand and turns it. I don't know if you guys ever noticed that, but you go to shake someone's hand and you want to basically exert dominance over it. And I know right now there's some people here who might be libs. They're all up in their fifis and nipples are getting real tender right now. But when you shake hands with somebody, you stick it out there. And some people just leave it in the neutral position. Oh yeah, how you doing? But the alpha male will come in and he'll grab your hand and turn it. And when he turns it, he's letting you know, I'm the alpha. Many of you guys in here know it. Many of you guys may be recipients of it. But if you come in weak, the alpha is going to turn your hand. His hand is going to be superior to yours every single time. Trump knows that. And he almost accentuates it. Make sure everybody can see it. Grab that hand and turn it over. The guy underneath is, the submissive one, the beta. I am the big dog. I don't want to make too big of a thing of it because most guys know this, but you need to just watch. See that hand? He's over him. Now they're going to walk inside. Obviously we can't hear. There's no mic, so it gives me a chance to talk about it. But Macron is obviously much smaller than Trump. And I was like, what? Why would he be going to, this meeting? If he's going to Notre Dame, why is he going into the French mansion? I know it's cordial, but we're going to see something here in a second. There again. Boom. Boom. You see that? Just look at that. Ladies, that's called an alpha handshake. He could have relaxed his arm and came down with it. He kept that arm up. So I'm making sure Macron knows he's touching an alpha dog here. Look at that. Look how he's doing it. It's almost uncomfortable because I got to get above you to execute that handshake. See, the people in the news won't talk about that because most of the guys on the news, they're definitely going to be beta. They're going to be the people underneath. They won't even notice that. They'll probably, what's Trump trying to do? Break his arm? No, not as long as you submit, then I won't have to break your damn arm. Look at that. Look at that.
Pour cette réouverture de Notre Dame 5 ans après, il était président à l'époque quand le feu a pris.
They're going to make a statement in French and then a statement in English.
La cathédrale, je m'en souviens. President, it's a great honor for French people to welcome you 5 years later. And you were at that time present for the first time. And I remember the solidarity and your immediate reaction. So, welcome back again.
Well, thank you very much.
We are very happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Look, there it is again. See him?
And we had a great relationship, as everyone knows.
See, I didn't know if you noticed the quick turn. He released it, but he made the quick turn anyway.
Accomplished a lot together, and the people of France are spectacular. I guess it's one of our largest groups in the United States, French people. And we respect them and we love them. Very talented people, extremely energetic people, as you know very well.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to be here. We had a good time together, and we had a lot of success, really great success working together on defense and offense too. And it certainly seems like the world is going a little crazy right now.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about that. Thank you very much for being here.
Merci beaucoup.
Notice he said that. The world's gone a little bit crazy right now, and we're going to be talking about that. So if the world's gone a little bit crazy, those of you guys who have seen what's going on in Syria, in fact, let me pull that up because Trump addressed what's going on in Syria earlier today. Well, let me see if I can find this real quick if you haven't seen it. Sorry, I should have had this ready. My bad. All right, so Trump mentioned this in earlier this morning, very early, so he must have been doing it from the limo or something. But here's what he said about Syria. And if in case you don't know, basically the Allah Akbar types have taken over, or trying to take over, major portions of Syria. Opposition fighters in Syria, in an unprecedented move, have totally taken over numerous cities in a highly coordinated offensive and are now on the outskirts of Damascus, obviously preparing to make a very big move toward taking out Assad, which also ties into all their BS about Tulsi Gabbard. There's no way that Tulsi Gabbard can be, an asset when they're, standing. You see where this is going. Russia, because they are so tied up in Ukraine. Interesting. Russia, because they're so tied up in Ukraine, and with the loss there of over 600,000 soldiers, seems incapable of stopping this literal march through Syria, a country they have protected for years. This is where former President Obama refused to honor his commitment of protecting, in big letters here, the red line in the sand. And all hell broke out with Russia stepping in. But now they are, like possibly Assad himself, being forced out, and it may actually be the best thing that can happen to them. There was never much of a benefit in Syria for Russia other than to make Obama look really stupid. In any event, Syria is a mess, but they're not our friend. And now in big capital letters, the United States should have nothing to do with it. This is not our fight. Let it play out. Do not get involved. Big letters. This ain't us. We ain't got nothing to do with this. We ain't getting involved. Let Russia, let Ukraine, let Syria figure out what they're going to do. So he posted that early this morning from over there, obviously, right? Yeah, okay. So he's over there for the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. And he's there to exchange pleasantries with Macron. Tell me if anywhere, any news, anywhere, mentioned what you're about to see right now. Did you know that he was going to be meeting with Zelensky when he went to France? Did that leak anywhere? I checked before today, and I didn't see that mentioned anywhere. Nowhere on anyone's newscast, no tweets, nothing. Did anybody mention Trump would be meeting with Zelensky today? Anyone else find that interesting? All this stuff happening in Syria, Trump about to get inaugurated. Oh, the guys over in Russia and Ukraine are fighting, and this guy's probably up there begging for more money. And he uses this opportunity to go to France for a cathedral reopening, and just happens to, meet the little guy here. Yeah, that's what happened. Very odd. Very, very odd.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And as you can see, this wasn't a simple photo op. They had a meeting. I don't see any readouts anywhere. I don't see anyone talking about what they discussed. But since nobody knew this meeting was taking place, I guarantee you some in the press pool were like, whoa, what's going on here? This guy's not the president. He's the president-elect, but he's out here on the world stage meeting with world leaders and a combatant, somebody who's actually in war, shows up unannounced. I'm sure Trump's people all knew about it. No leak there. Nobody leaked it. And Zelensky walks out on stage, and there they are, sitting together, getting ready to have a meeting. That's big news. Nobody reported. Nobody knows what's going on. That's how you know the news is lying to you. They have no clue. All right, so this is after. I don't know the time frame. I don't know how long that meeting lasted, but now the three of them are walking out after the meeting. Interesting. We never heard anything about it. And what's really interesting is when you look at the three faces, nobody seems to be giving anything away. Everybody is stone-faced, playing their cards very close to the chest. To the vest, as they say. But I just find it interesting. Let's just watch them. They're just, thumbs up, waving, posing for pictures. And now he's just going to walk to his limo, the tank, to get to the cathedral. So this meeting happened before they went to the cathedral. Very interesting. Yep, puts his arm around Macron, shakes hand with Zelensky, again throws the alpha at him, did a double alpha, put the other hand on top, and then has the beta boy escort him with the umbrella. That's it. And nobody has an idea what happened there. Nobody. I haven't seen it on any news, but they wouldn't know anyway. The only thing they would know is what, Trump, Zelensky, and Macron want to tell them. And they're not telling them anything. So now he's cross town, and he's at the actual cathedral.
Patrick, which way we're going? We're going through that one.
Now this is the big event. Lots of cameras here, even more than at Macron's place. I love how he walks in. All right, so now Macron turns and he sees Trump. Watch the handshake again. He knows right now the world is watching. Boom. Over top. There it is. Turned it. And then I found something here on another feed, which for some reason they cut on the main feed. You're going to love what you're about to see. So from here, they cut it. But I found another feed that showed a different cut. Watch what happens. All right, so now I know my lower thirds here, but the camera's going to adjust, and watch. You see this? See that with the hand? How he's pulling him in? He's pulling him in right now. Just don't let go of the hand. Totally in control of Macron right there. And I know some of you are like, well, Barry, what's the big deal? That man can't let go if he wanted to. He's not going anywhere until Trump says, I've released you. And please don't get upset with me. I'm trying to tell you and show you something. That is absolutely alpha move. I've got you. And he brings it, up to his chest, and he's not letting go. Did you catch that? It's very subtle to most people who aren't looking for it, but I'm like, oh, he's letting him know in no uncertain terms, you might want to go ahead and sniff my butt because the alpha dog is back, baby. And I'm telling you right now, there are guys in the military across the world who are watching their commander-in-chief or future commander-in-chief and going, that's him. That's it. That's it. He let Macron know in the most subtle of ways, I got you. You will submit to me. Am I making a big deal of this? Nope, not whatsoever, because now I want you to see the world leaders as they come to see Trump walking into Notre Dame, and he's letting everybody know I'm back in charge. Watch this. That guy showed up again. Interesting how Zelensky showed up again. Yeah, he's sitting there. Look at him all. The world knows he's back. See the tall guy with the kind of bald head? You may not notice him because he was really good looking, 10 years ago. But that's a prince. That is a prince of England. Probably soon to be the king. And he's in line to meet Trump. And look who else is there. Oh, it's the first bro. Again, I had no idea that Elon Musk was going to show up at this event and be there amongst the French people and the French leaders and world leaders. The first bro shows up. What in the hell is going on? I can't tell you. I don't have the answers, but this is kind of getting weird. I mean, not weird from like a like sicko weird, but something's up. There's a reason why this guy is with Trump everywhere he goes. Maybe he's got better security. I don't know. I have no idea, but I did not expect them to see that in the receiving line would be nobody other than Elon Musk. And they're treating him like a leader. I love the move. So James Bondish, wasn't it? Yeah, I thought so. So we all knew that Dementia Joe didn't go. Karine Jean-Pierre the other day said, "Oh, his schedule is too, he's conflict. He's got such a tight schedule. He can't make it." Really? What kind of tight schedule? Other maybe he went to get his hair done after that blown hair day. But what's he doing? Because obviously someone else didn't have a tight schedule. Of course, that, in case you don't recognize, is a smiling and happy Jill Biden, the current First Lady, and the woman next to her is the shower partner of Dementia Joe, Ashley Biden. So Ashley and Jill get to show up and go to the Notre Dame, reopening. They didn't get to meet with Zelensky or Macron. They're going to the party, but they didn't get to go to the meeting. And Joe didn't get to go to the meeting. Interesting. Very interesting. This is so good. This, my friends, as you can see this. So next to the president of France is Donald Trump. Next to Donald Trump is Macron's wife. And then on the outside looking in, is Jill Biden and Ashley Biden. So you're telling me that the woman who's the First Lady and representing the United States in an official capacity, she is the First Lady, gets second fiddle. Go stand over there, please, okay? Just go stand over there. We got business. This is the man. And in fact, this man is closer to me than my wife. I'm going to keep Trump close to me, and I'm going to put a buffer between Trump and Jill and make her stand over there. I'm not a tea reader, and I don't have any crystal balls, but what I saw happen in that little bit of footage that I just showed you was some serious stuff going on, including the whole Elon Musk thing. And I just wanted to jump through that before we got into the interview because, wow, absolutely wow. Let me go ahead and talk to you guys, see what you got here. The First Wives Club. Both Bidens are there for what? I don't know. Jill and Ashley. That's a man, baby. Oh my gosh, you guys are too much. It's not fair. It's not fair. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Crystal Ballsberry. Whoa, Pick says volume. It said it to me. Love that seating arrangement. It was probably Trump's affair, and they just showed up. But what do you guys make of, and maybe I missed it, but what do you guys make of the whole thing with Zelensky? I mean, Zelensky showing up and just deciding to be a part of this is pretty interesting to me. Very interesting to me. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Exactly, Barry. Jill, go stand somewhere else. All right, so I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping here, and that housekeeping is somebody, SV, one of the mods, brought something to my attention, and I have to bring it up to you guys at this point because I don't want any of you to be scammed or anything. This is or a comment that's been happening on Rumble. And this guy here has been calling himself the real Barry Cunningham and using my logo and then trying to get people to click on a link to take them to Telegram for God knows what. I won't even click on the link. Just so you know, that's not me. 1, I will never ask you to post any private information in any comment. Number 2, most of the people commenting are either going to be mods, Ashley, my daughter, and I seldom comment, but if I do, it's just Barry Cunningham. 3, we'll never tell you to go click on a link in Telegram. So if you see anything like this, and this guy, he made like 100 different comments where he said, hey, listen, can you click on this link? And if you click on this link, you'll get to talk to me. And then he's asking for people to email him to a fake email. That's not me. Don't fall for this crap. There are a lot of people out there trying to take advantage of people. He since has been reported. His comments have been deleted, but they pop up, and there's no way to keep track of all these scammers and these, Nigerian prince type dudes. So don't fall for it. Not at all. It's not me. No one's going to ask you to go click on a link and do something like that. Most of the times when I do things, I will actually do it in the show. Like, for instance, if I say, hey, listen, if you want to enter to win a hoodie, I'll put it on screen. Go to fanfareshop.org. I will not say, hey, click the link here or there. Nope, not going to do it. So unless it's in the description, I will never, ever, ever, ever put a link in a comment. Not going to happen. Whether it's YouTube, X, or on Rumble, that's not me. So I just wanted to spend a couple seconds and let you guys know that's not how I do. Scammers do that kind of crap, not me. And if you see something like that, put hashtag scammer in the comment, whether it be on X or wherever, and then we'll scan to see if anybody puts something up like that. So just wanted to get that out there so you guys know that. So I mentioned to you I did an interview with Scott Rasmussen. Mark Mitchell. Scott Rasmussen used to own a company. Mark Mitchell, who is the head pollster at Rasmussen Reports. We talked for a long, long time, and he's going to give you some insight as to many of you who watch my polling shows, and I used to say different things. He's going to show you right now why things ended up being the way they were, how things were so missed by so many people, and he will further underscore how much of a scam the entirety of the polling industry is, and how bad the media is in working in collusion with these hacks to try and fool you. They are as bad as these scammers here. They are as bad as the Nigerian prince. They suck. They absolutely suck, and they're basically lying to people. So as usual, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the interview, and then as I play the interview, I'll come back and talk, and I'll watch the comments, and you guys can see as well, and then we can discuss what you see. This is my interview with Mark Mitchell, the head pollster at Rasmussen. So continuing with my series of interviews with people in politics and people who understand what has happened in politics, I've got Mark Mitchell here today, who's the head pollster from Rasmussen Reports. Mark, thank you for coming on. Got a lot of questions. We've had a lot of questions over the last, 6 months from people trying to understand what exactly these polls are. So thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, really happy to be here. There should be a lot of questions after what we witnessed for the last 3 months, for sure.
And after this interview, I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of people who say, hey, bring them on live so we can ask questions. But anyway, what is Rasmussen, and how do you guys rank in regards to accuracy with all of the other polls?
Well, they hate us. So in my opinion, that probably makes us most accurate. I don't know. We don't go overboard like measuring our own accuracy. We just continue to poll. And that's what sets us apart is most of these guys do only horse races. They'll show up, every 4 years and put election results out that look horrible. But we have a website. We put out public opinion stories. People could go support us and be a reader. Because it's more than just the election races. There's a lot of insane stuff going on in our country right now. The Overton window is being pushed all over the place, and we're one of the only people really attempting to hold it back and get American voters what they want. So the fact that we're funded by subscription and advertising and not some big corporate coffer means that we don't have a vested interest in the corporate kleptocracy in D.C. maintaining the status quo. And because of that, I think it's really the number one reason that we weren't lying and everybody else was. And ultimately, it comes down to, I think we're really accurate. We have been over and over again. But really, the true measure is not, okay, the final call you put out on 11/4. 60% of the country already voted.
Right.
There's so much other data. Literally everybody on Twitter already knew what the race was going to be. The miracle was that it wasn't stolen, but everybody on Twitter was like, yeah, it's probably going to be a 312 map because they're looking at all this data.
Right.
The real mark is, where were you in June? I was saying that Trump was going to win in a landslide. Where were you in July? Well, Kamala Harris ain't that much better. Where were you in August? We said, well, Trump's locked in a 2-point race. And we were the only ones that entire time. And listen, we're just doing our jobs, but it seemed like people were really desperate for that information.
You mentioned funding. In terms of dollars, how big is the polling industry?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. It changes all the time. Anybody could be a pollster. You could literally, somebody watching this right now, go, sign up for an account on SurveyMonkey, raise a few $1,000. It doesn't cost a lot to do the poll. It all comes down to your credibility and building it and what do you do with it. I don't think there are that many pollsters. I mean, look at Real Clear Politics, and most of those are just one or two guys sitting around inside of a mainstream media news organization. But then you have your morning consults. They do a ton of corporate work, and they're, I don't know, $200-300 million in revenue.
Wow.
We're 4 people, and I put out more polling than they did.
Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. We were really trying to get this one accurate. Our state polling in 2020 wasn't that great. I changed a lot of things to enable us to do more high volume polling. And I also worked over 100-hour weeks on top of doing the media hits for the last 3 months. So it was what we needed, because if you look at our state polling, I think we showed that we did a really good job. Polling has errors. We were too strong Trump in Georgia, not Trumpy enough in Arizona. But on the whole, if you look at all of our state polling, there was zero bias. We had some were too Trumpy, some weren't Trumpy enough. And that's exactly what a pollster should be, because polls have errors that you just can't get around. And if you look at Real Clear Politics, the sum total of the entire industry has less error than me, but they have 1 to 3 points of left bias. So that's just the way it is. So,
stop you there, because every time if you use a term I think most people won't use, tell me what that is, left bias or right bias either.
Yeah, so there's accuracy and there's precision. And so precision is, okay, if I shoot this weapon or run this system or do whatever, how big of a spread do I have, right? That's what I refer to as polling error. If I run a really small poll, it's going to create a big window within the results in there somewhere. If I run more polls or a bigger poll, it's going to be more precise. But I could be shooting at the wrong target. I could be pointed in the wrong direction, or the barrel could be bent, right? So there's this idea of accuracy too. And you see this, a really good example is Morning Consult. Everybody looks at Morning Consult and says, wow, look at them. It's so great. It's a 10,000 person poll. The margin of error is less than a point. That's so great. No, it's precise, but they were off by 7 points. They were shooting at the wrong target. And every single pollster in the industry, every single one, including us, the right-wing pollster, every single one of them leans left. They all do. They all have left bias. And that's why the Real Clear Politics aggregate is left of the election results, and it has been last 3 times. And people will say, 2012, but Romney. It's like, no, Romney wasn't a candidate that was effectively challenging the status quo. And that's why they're all pulling out all of the stops. I really do think it was. And some of them did it purposely, some of them don't. But they just can't show Trump winning because it undermines this system that they built.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And so over the last, I won't say decade, but last couple of years, how has polling methodology changed? And if you could explain methodology, because I try to show people that when I dug into the polls, don't look at the top result, dig, get to that last page and understand the methodology for how these people are putting polls out.
So everybody has a little bit different methodology. There are pearl clutchers in the industry who will tell you, oh, you have to use this gold standard methodology. And we never really have been one for ivory towers. So we like tried and true, and our trusty old methodology right now is that we still call half of our people on landline phones because there are 500,000 people who like answering our surveys. And it turns out that a lot of the electorate is super old and politically engaged. So that's a perfect match, right?
Okay.
And then the other half, we're using these online panels that other people are. A lot of pollsters are 100% online panel. They have their problems, but we've been able to make do with them. And we're probably reaching about 1.5 million people. And that's good. Because quite honestly, you're never going to be in a situation where you could reach everybody cheaply and effectively and reliably. So other people are doing like live operator calling, costs a lot of money, inserts left-wing bias because people don't want to open up to some college student on the phone. And then you also have people texting mobiles, and that it's a tough one because you have to send out so many texts. People don't respond to them. At a certain point, it tells you more about the person than it does about their opinion. Like, who is this person? Why do they respond to spam? Like, that's the people in your poll. So a lot of people have rushed headlong into expensive or new or untested techniques, and I think that's one of the reasons that we've done better. But I would place most of the emphasis on why we did better is we just poll all day, every day. Every single night. We've been polling since the election. We're going to keep polling. And so I saw this entire massive shift that everybody else kind of missed. In the independents, they went for Biden by double digits, and Trump was winning with independents by the end. Everybody that showed Harris winning had Harris winning with independents.
Wow. So one of the things I dug into, and I think I may have even heard it from you, what's the difference between with polling a registered voter versus a likely voter, and how do you determine what a likely voter is? And then why would some pollsters even use one or the other if it's not as accurate?
It's not a question of necessarily accuracy, and a lot of people who are doing registered voter polling will also put out a likely voter number. What we do is we poll entirely likely voters for our political results, and that's because, listen, somebody who tells you that they're going to go vote, if they tell you they're not, why would you care about their response, right? So what shows up on election day is likely voters. Now, they do lie on polls, like it's not tried and true, but that's how we do it. We say, how often do you vote in general elections? And if they say at least half the time or all the time, we keep them. If they say occasionally or no, I don't, then we'll throw them out and give them our, okay, well, what do you think about Disney? We'll give them those questions. So other people start with the voter file, and they say, all right, I'm going to put out a poll, and I want to make sure that I get enough people in this part of the state, enough people in this part of the state. And we do that too. We target, we ask people what region they live in, but we're asking them. These people are going to an actual voter file that they've purchased, and I've done it, and saying, okay, well, I'm going to target 1,000 people here and see what I get, 1,000 people there, see what I get. And the problem is that the voter rolls are dirty. Oftentimes. And at the end of the day, I mean, that might not be who shows up anyways. And they get that, like, that's where their starting point is. And I don't think it actually makes them any more accurate. But a registered voter ostensibly is a number that means less. And so it used to be in the past that it might favor Democrats or Republicans more than others. So people would put out registered voters instead of likely voters because it makes the Democrat look better. But the Democrats kind of closed that voter enthusiasm gap back in 2018, 2020. And we can argue about how they did that. I think the registered likely voter numbers are very close right now. And people are spending all this money doing all this stuff that doesn't make it better. They would have been better off just polling more.
After the results of this past election, do you feel the American public will ever trust the polling industry again?
I say to people, do not trust me, okay? I'm not putting out a prediction that I want you to blindly trust. I'm giving you data. I'm showing you crosstabs. I'm explaining the shift in demographics. I'm trying not to change my methodology just so you know where my data came from, so you can understand how the sausage is made. So I don't think anybody should ever trust pollsters ever.
So this is Barry from the present. This is a recorded interview, but I'm here live right now. What he's telling you at this point is pretty much the kind of stuff I was telling you when I was doing the polls. And you think to yourself, well, Barry, the election's over. Why should we care about this now? Because they are continuing to poll. Every single thing Trump is doing, which is what Mark is going to get into, they are still polling. They want to know who wants Pete Hegseth, who doesn't want Pete Hegseth. Do you care whether or not Pete Hegseth slept with a nanny or what? All the different stuff. This is everything that the media is using, right now at this time, to try and influence people into doing things they don't want to see happen. There's a reason why the media continues and continues and continues to lie. They see these internal polls, and Mark's going to tell you the difference between a, quote, internal poll and a regular poll. You're going to hear all this. And my mic's on. Just wanted to make sure, because I get these texts, and sometimes people think my mic's not on. But what they're taking this information, especially the liberal media, and they're trying to beat people over the head. And you're seeing what's happening with Joni Ernst. Joni and what was the other guy? John Cornyn from Texas. Oh, we're not going to vote for Pete Hegseth. Well, John Cornyn now has seen numbers. I'm like, hey man, you're tanking. They're coming for you. Oh, all of a sudden he feels like I need to do the right thing. It's because of the polls and how they influence these people. And now Joni Ernst is about to do the same thing. So before we go any further, I got to go ahead and pay a bill here. So let me go ahead and talk to you guys about this. With President Trump's historic victory, I need to ask parents, especially the parents, to please listen up. You see, right now, President Trump is heading back to the White House once he's done from France and said he wants to teach our kids to love our country. And the best place for them to start is to learn all about President Trump and his vision for America in his second term. That's why Mike Huckabee and his team put together the Kids Guide to President Trump. And to celebrate President Trump's victory, they're giving it away for free. With fun illustrations and easy to follow content, this important guide teaches kids all about President Trump's accomplishments during his first term, and it helps kids understand his goals for his second term. Mike Huckabee wants to send your family this free guide so that you can teach your kids the truth. But please hurry because supplies are limited. To claim your free Kids Guide to President Trump right now, just visit kidstrumpguide.com. That's kidstrumpguide.com. Let's continue with Mark Mitchell.
Obviously, there are certain circumstances when you would trust some less than others, right? Like when Reuters Ipsos goes from Trump +1 to Harris +6, all in the span of 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, you should probably look at their crosstabs and understand, and that's why I teach people to read crosstabs. Even though can
you explain what a crosstab is?
Absolutely. So there's a certain amount of data that a pollster will disclose. It's like the actual deliverable of their poll. And it's usually a set of graphs, charts, that show each question that was asked and then how it breaks down by demographic. And it's really, really important to understand. You cannot trust what we call the top line number, which is like in the headline, you'll see Harris +7. Right. Okay. Well, The Hill reported that Harris was winning by 7 points in a Fairleigh Dickinson poll. But if you looked at the crosstabs, well, they actually talked about it in the article too. You would see that, okay, they asked a sequence of questions. They asked the matchup, and Trump was down by 1. Then they asked, oh, well, how important is it that we have a new female president? And how important is it that, and so they asked all these questions about race and gender. And then they asked the matchup number again. And they said that, oh, wow, when you prime these people, then and ask them again, then they go Harris +7. Well, The Hill just came out and said Harris +7. So it was actually a study into voter psychology, and it was a push poll. And then there's many other clear examples, but New York Times Siena was doing what I think was relatively disingenuous. They put out national popular vote numbers similar to mine, like maybe 1 point to the left, but they kept putting out state numbers where they'd show, like they put them out in a set where they'd have 2 states and they'd have one that was very good for Trump and one that was very bad for Trump. And it turns out the ones that were bad for Trump were always the ones that, that Kamala Harris needed, like Pennsylvania or North Carolina. And they put this one Pennsylvania poll out that showed, I think, Harris +3. And you can go into the crosstabs and see, well, they asked people in this poll who they voted for in 2020. Right. Well, we know that Pennsylvania kind of went Biden +1, right?
Supposedly.
So if you see Biden +8 in the 2020 question, then they got 7 points too many Biden supporters.
Right,
and that really means that it's probably a Trump +4 poll. And so what gets reported in the headlines is Harris +3. But I look at that in the crosstabs and I say, oh, look at that. New York Times in Pennsylvania is to the right of me. So you can't, like, that's what you do. Like, read the crosstabs. It's very good data. You get to know that each pollsters have their quirk, and you won't, the laser pointer of the press, the headlines. That's what was driving everybody nuts.
And so it's so hard sometimes to find these crosstabs in these data, because if you see the article on Yahoo or AOL or whatever website, like you said, they'll put the heading, and then you look and there's no crosstabs there. You got to link and go back to the pollster, and then hopefully the pollster has posted their crosstabs. And so what you're saying is exactly correct. Dig. You're going to have, if you want to be educated about it, don't trust the headline. You're going to have to dig. So I have a question. Even I don't understand this. What's the difference between the so-called internal polls and the public-facing polls?
The real question is why does Rasmussen match all of the internal polling? That's because that's what was happening. Is I was just doing my own numbers. It's all me doing the polling, and I would hear a leak. Oh, Fabrizio put a memo out. Oh, it looks like my numbers. Then I'd hear, oh, Tammy Baldwin leaked Democrat internal. Oh, it looks like my numbers. And so the entire time I was like, wow, I matched the campaign internal polls. And yet for some reason, ABC, Morning Consult, like those numbers do not match. And so what it comes down to is internal polls. And listen, they do a lot more polling. They have deep butt pockets. We were polling on a shoestring. Right. The fact that we were able to put out as much polling as we were is a miracle. But the campaigns are paying $100,000-$300,000 a week to a consultant to come in and tell them the truth. They need to know, are we winning or not? And if not, where, so that we can focus on that area. And so who are they
using? Are they, when you look at the Real Clear Politics average, you see all the pollsters, who are they using internally to do their numbers?
The Trump campaign was using Fabrizio and Associates and McLaughlin. Good guys. And I don't know who the Democrats were using. I'll probably pull the string on that at some point. I did go and look at Harris's FEC filings and saw that they spent like $15 million, not even final numbers up until November, on polling and analytics. So whoever they were using was getting rich.
They got robbed.
They did a good job polling. But it ultimately comes down to is that, again, the media is just a propaganda arm for Democrat campaigns. And you could say, well, maybe it's something special about Trump. But at this point, they've done it in 2016, they did it in 2020, and they did it again in 2024. It's been 12 years that they've been shilling for Democrats. And we all know that the media is biased. But this is very different. This isn't like, hey, we're going to selectively report on this, or we're going to spike something that's uncomfortable. This is, we are going to destroy our own credibility, put money in a pile and burn it, and look like absolute clowns just to try and get Kamala Harris to win. Yeah. What's crazy is I think we'll look back at this and say, look at all the assets they burnt. They destroyed faith in our judiciary. They destroyed trust in the mainstream media. They literally sacrificed trust in CNN and the New York Times. The FBI, everybody thinks it's Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. They will have done all of this to save Joe Biden and try to get Kamala Harris to win. Like literally the worst candidates in history. It's unbelievable.
And Mark, having seen like John Morgan and some of these guys and this woman who's out there who helped raise money, you burned money. And now the credibility of, when you come out and make a video and you tell people our numbers never showed her ahead, and I want to ask you about that number. Why would they even say that? But the fact that you come out, do interviews, put on film, we never showed her ahead, yet you're telling donors, oh, it's a close race. People are going to be hesitant to write checks the next time. So why would you do that, A, to donors, and why would you do that to, why would you come out and even say it?
I don't know, maybe there's like a good sports analogy here. You tell me if I'm off base, but it's like, I don't know, pick your two sports teams, your Yankees and your Mets, and, everybody gets super invested in one team winning, and they have a whole structure. They have all their fans. They have an owner. They have investors. And I think what the Democrats are going through right now is that they tried to reorganize. They got a lot of money. They got some new players, and yet they still got slaughtered.
Right.
And so everybody's, there was a lot of cheery talk going into the going into the World Series, but they're sitting around the locker room, and David Plouffe, the former Obama advisor, I don't think he was ever that committed to Kamala Harris.
Right.
He's like maybe one of those like ringers that came in, and he's like, well, guys, like we sucked. Guys, we messed this up. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, well, is the bubble going to be broken? Are they going to acknowledge like why they failed?
Right.
And try and change course? And that's the question mark, because they do have to change course. They were doing something that is not conducive to winning elections.
Right.
And that is undermining the culture of America in a way that created a visceral reaction. And they didn't distance themselves from it. And it's not just that, it's the border too. I mean, and the fact that they can't even acknowledge that they had some complicity in an invasion of our southern border. So I don't know. I mean, they're very powerful. They have limitless money. George Soros or whoever is the owner of the team, right? I don't know, but they're going to raise another $2 billion. They'll find it from some other mark. And the question is like, okay, well, if they continue on the current course, do they, are they still competitive? And the answer is probably, yeah.
I don't think
in some ways. In some ways, the fact that Kamala Harris did, listen, if you look at every single one of Trump's issues, the main tenets of MAGA, Americans want massive deportation. They want walls on the border. They want the military down there, but like 65 to 30.
Right.
And yet Trump only won, narrowly 50 to 48 on a national popular vote. Like the fact that it wasn't a 10-point win should be troubling to a lot of people. The Democrats have a miraculous electioneering game. And
is there another reason for that though? Like,
yeah, of course. I mean, yes. Like,
okay.
Exactly. It's asymmetrical warfare that the Republicans were not engaged in and maybe now will be. And so that might threaten Democrat hegemony. But it is hegemony. It really is. The fact that the country moved 6 points to the right and yet Republicans had no down ballot pickups except for a few Senate races is pretty. You're not hearing stories out there about state legislatures flipping all over the country.
Right.
And you should. There should have been a 6-point commensurate pickup in House representation, and there is not. But it's like, okay, if they have a set of luxury values, if they're undermining the culture, if they want to invade our country, then they have to win with something else. And that's what they tried. And so it's at a certain point, they're not going to be able to win anymore. I don't know if this is that point, but there's reasons to think that they're having those discussions now. And if they're smart, what they'll say is, wow, we should stop destroying the middle class in America. We should stop sucking up to all these billionaires and corporate oligarchies and reevaluate. And that would probably cause a civil war within the party. And I'm not.
I was having that exact conversation with Robin yesterday or the day before, and we were talking about where do they go from here? Because as much as they've lost, just imagine what happens 3 years, 4 years from now when everything that they've been told didn't happen. I'm talking about the Democrats. You mean we can still be gay? Yeah. There's no problem with that. Oh my God. They told us we wouldn't be able to. You can still marry a black woman or a white woman if you want. Yeah, you can still do that. What else? We're paying less for gas. Yep. You're paying less for groceries. Yep. How do you run against that? I mean, think about that. As a Democrat politician, how do you run against what's going to happen over the next 3 to 4 years? We're going to raise your taxes. What? You saw how that worked out, right? So if everything that the boogeyman, you were told about the boogeyman, doesn't happen, how do the Democrats even mount a challenge in 2028? Trump would have to fail miserably for them to be even able to compete. The gas prices are going to have to be up. The rent's going to have to be up. Groceries are going to have to be through the roof. How do you... I think the only issue that may end up being something that they are fearful about, but nobody cares about, is the whole Transformer thing. Because I don't think that's going anywhere. We're like, hey, you're done. You're done. We're not going to play that game with you. We're going to put you back into the shadows. But other than that, everybody else is going to be able to do everything they want. And so you as a Democrat in 2028, you're going to have to compete against what Trump has done. People are prosperous again. The country is safe again. People are paying less taxes. How do you roll back? Just imagine this. How do you roll back no taxes on tips? Wait a minute. For 4 years, I haven't had to pay taxes on these tips, and now you want me to pay more? Yes. Get bent. No taxes on overtime. Cops, firefighters, EMTs, everybody who works a lot of overtime is going to get next 4 years. Not going to have to. You want me to start paying again? How do you compete with that? It's not. You can't.
Seeing that yet. And we should, because it would be better for the country, for the Democrats to become more competitive from an electoral, like, not electioneering perspective, like on ideas. That would be, because the Overton window, they pushed it so far left with this insanity.
Well, with that sports analogy you used, you got the owner, you got the general manager, the coach, and then you got the players. One of the things I have an issue with, which I don't have an issue, I'm kind of happy about it. It seems as though they're stuck, like you said, in an ideology. Meaning they want to run the same playbook over and over and over, knowing it's not working. But the problem they have right now is, from a visual perspective, it doesn't seem like there's a bench. You know, when you're talking about sports, there's the young rookie who's going to be a second-year player who now is going to break out. There's that next player who's going to take Derek Jeter's place. I don't see anybody on the bench. And so in order for the owner and general manager and everybody else to succeed, you need somebody who can run this thing. And I don't know who it could be. Do you see who could step in and be, I mean, other than Gavin Newsom, but even then he's got so much baggage. Who's going to be the next player?
This is a good analogy, because now I'm thinking about the fans, and I'm saying, like, if your Yankees fans are so committed, do they even need the players to be good? Right? They're going to tune in. They're going to tune in anyways. Because how many people in this world would say, "Man, the Yankees stink this year. I'm going to become a Mets fan."
Right.
And that's really what happened. Is all these polls were showing all of these swings, and it's like, no, people have already made up their team's mind. This is not 10 years ago where people are like, "Oh, Romney kind of stinks, but Obama had a bad first term." And they were changing their minds. This is like literally political Armageddon. Like, this is the race did not move. Like we had debates, we had assassination attempts, and my numbers week after week were just like Trump +2. So yeah, people were locked in. But I'll tell you, the bench. Again, I will say, people are going to throw Kamala Harris under the bus. This was a referendum on the government. Kamala Harris, she had like a 43% favorability rating. She got the candidacy and it became 48%. Like, good for her. Democrats immediately loved her. 5 points more than they did, or 10 points, you know. And then she did better than I think by far Joe Biden would have. And they have no bench. She's not a great candidate, but she came really, really close. Trump swept the swing states, but let's acknowledge that most of them were all within 2 points.
Right.
And so I don't think they need a deep bench if they're going to keep running this playbook, and they might still lose with it. But how do you build a bench, right? That's the thing, is they've built an entire political ecosystem around really strong centralized power and conformity to a dogma that is not conducive to winning.
Right.
And so when they're going to have a little commie fest, they're going to try and out-commie each other in the next, tell me I'm wrong. And if somebody goes in and says, well, maybe we should try and restore confidence and not undermine traditional values, or they're going to get the Bernie treatment. They're going to get death threats in a lake house. And I'll tell you though, there's a huge opportunity for somebody to come in and bring rational, like a Bill Clinton style, second term.
Exactly.
To the Democrat Party. It would be healthier for everybody. And the conservatives following me would say, no, that's just going to make them more competitive. And it's like, if they run on the right things and win, it may not get America to where you want it to go, but it is healthier for America to back off this insane ledge where everybody is literally, the risk of civil war is higher than it's ever been. Everybody thought there was going to be a violent reaction to this election. They need to back off the ledge, and I don't know. We'll see if it happens, but they've normalized gender mutilation on children. They've normalized flooding the country with violent criminals. They've all of these things have been normalized to 30 to 40% of the country, and it needs to be walked back somehow.
In your polling, because I'm older, my wife is older, and people I know are older, where abortion doesn't even enter in our discussion. It's not even, when we're looking at doing things and looking at voting somebody in, it has nothing to do with abortion. How much longer can they push that needle? Because one of the things I look at is a lot of women the younger women who are so steadfast with abortion are going to be 4 years older. Talking about replacing a bench, is abortion in your numbers still going to be that big of an issue for them 4 years from now?
I actually think abortion could be turned into a really good issue for the right, because the Democrats have had complete control over the ability to message on these issues. And part of it's because they have the corporate press willing to just completely shill for them. But if you ask people like, okay, are you pro-choice or pro-life? Pro-choice wins. Right. But, it's like 55% to 38% or something like that. It's like a pretty solid win, but there's a lot of pro-life people, 30, 40%. And what your average DeSantis influencer will tell you is, I can't vote for Trump because he's not 100% anti-abortion. Right. Well, what they have to understand is that the work has not been done on that issue to run on it. It's not the problem our country has right now. Our country has terminal stage 4 cancer. Time to work on that first before you correct muscular imbalances or whatever. And so, but people are very strongly against late-term abortion. We asked a question like, where in the pregnancy would you draw the line? And I think it's only 12 or 15% who say after 6 months. Wow. So that's good.
Right.
Yeah. And it's, I think, 1 in 4 who say after 3 months. So the real answer is like roughly 65, 70% of the country, would be okay with a 3-month ban. And now I'm not saying the federal government should do that. I think the Dobbs decision is also very favorably viewed by Americans now. So really what it comes down to, it was a canard issue. They couldn't run on the border. They couldn't run on the economy. They needed something to run on. And all of the people that got the polling wrong would say that abortion was a really big issue. It wasn't. It never was. Right. In my polling, never among 18 to 39-year-olds. The people who said that was their number one issue, I think among young people is like 15, 20%. Not huge. There are issues where the economy and the border. And those are stand-ins for Biden ruined our future. And we asked, we have all these questions. We asked, will today's children have a better life than their parents? And I think it was 22% said yes. Like, that's horrible. Wow. And only 18 to 39-year-olds, like fresh out of college, starting families, Their number was like 35, 37, something like that. Really, really low. So, no, they do not care about abortion. They can't afford a house. They can't put money on the table at all.
Exactly. I'm not a pollster. I slept in a Holiday Inn once, but I'm not a pollster. I called, you're going to laugh at me, before Biden dropped out. So we're talking early July. I told people, and I'm on film saying it, I called it was going to be a landslide for Trump. People laughed at me and they Barry, what are you talking about? And one of the things, and obviously it's not something you could have said, not something most of the pollsters could have said, but I'm pretty good at math. And the thing that got me is I looked at, and you can look at my videos, I told people, whether it was Clinton, Obama, or whoever, the math with black men showed me that this was going to be a landslide, and nobody was talking about it. And I would show them, hey, listen, if you go back and look, and you're seeing numbers at 90, 88%, and if it drops down even slightly, there's no way to make up that math. And you do the same thing with the Hispanics. And then the other part of it, and this is, I know something people couldn't say in public, I'm like, culturally, I'm telling you, there are a lot of black men and a lot of Hispanic men who won't vote for a woman president. And people were shocked that I would say, I'm like, listen, number one, I'm black and I'm a black man. I can tell you, I've been in the barbershops. They're not going to do it. Why didn't, although you couldn't say it because you would get destroyed, why didn't people factor that in the numbers and say, hey, listen, there's a cultural aspect here that nobody is taking into account?
Yeah, I was looking at my past videos right now and trying to find the one. I'm pretty sure I said Trump's going to win in a landslide back in March. So I can say it. I mean, that was true. I had Trump up between 5 and 10 points all spring. And this is when people were still trying to save Biden. There was like a 1 month period where the pollsters got permission to throw him under the bus. But it was leaked that Biden was going to lose. Trump was going to win 400 electoral college in Biden's own internal polling, and that would have matched mine. And I was putting out charts the whole time that showed a massive shift in those demographics. Here's the thing. The mainstream media has a vested incentive in trying to maintain the optics that there is still a Democrat coalition.
Right.
And so what you're going to see is that, well, look, you have ABC Reuters, who was putting out Harris plus 5s and 6s. And those numbers are obviously false, but then everybody's going to run and say, oh, well, but like, look at NBC's exit polling. No, you can't trust that either. Those people are standing at a polling site asking like a 25-year-old black man coming out of the voting booth, who'd you vote for? They're not, the guy's going to walk past them or not answer, maybe, right?
Right.
In our polling 8 years ago, black voters, I think in our polling went 12% to Trump. And you could say, well, the exit polling said 8. I'm like, okay, maybe the truth's somewhere in the middle. And then last time it was more like the high teens. And this time in our numbers, and I'm not talking black men, I'm talking all black voters, 25 to 30%.
You can't make up that math.
You could say, yeah, I mean, crushing. But it's not like you didn't hear this. You didn't hear this until 2 weeks before the election and Obama went to the barbershop, right? Like, that's not, you didn't hear this until then. Well, I was putting it out for a year or two. Like, it's been a decade-long trend. Hispanic voters, black voters are fleeing the Democrat Party, and it's because the economy and their values are being undermined. And you could say, well, okay, maybe Trump's political prosecution had something to do with it. I do think it did. But at the end of the day, like, what did they think was going to happen? It's not like it was a surprise to them. And the fact that they did such cynical and deceptive things right at the end to make up for something that they could have done over the last 10 years, I think it's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But where's the real answer? I don't know if we'll ever know, but I think the trend will continue. I do think probably something like 20% of black voters voted for Trump, but maybe my white voters are too Democrat and my black voters are too Trumpy, and there could be ups and downs. Like, there's only so much that polling can do. People are fleeing the Democrat Party.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see it. I mean, I grew up in Connecticut, and I grew up around all Democrats. And as I started talking to even my own family, who is completely anti-Trump before, they started leaning in and going, the issues, the actual issues, what I'm paying at the grocery store, what I'm paying at the gas pump. I don't want to see all these people just flooding into the country. Those were the prime issues. And I just watched over a period of time as that completely shifted. And it wasn't so much that they became Trump supporters as they became, this is in my best interest. I need someone who's at least going to try, not lying to me, not telling me that you just let all these people in on purpose because they're seeing it where they live. And I don't know if these people are in bubbles in their studios in New York or the studios in Washington, but they were completely disconnected from people all over the country who were experiencing it in their daily lives. So I just wondered, is the polling industry infected with DEI as well?
The polling industry is infected with ivory towers. The polling industry is, listen, the polling industry is people who go to work in the New York Times building. It's people who go to work on college campuses. It's mostly where they are. And like even the corporate people, anybody living and working in the city is, they're paying like $10 for a gallon of milk and they have somebody deliver it to their door. They're buying it on an app. They're not dealing with, and now what's crazy is they are dealing with violence. Mm-hmm. And that's a very new and recent thing. I think it all kind of came to a conflagration. And this is why it's so wild. I really don't know where this is going to go, because this isn't like, well, the Democrats were pushing a policy and the policy is not as, popular. And so maybe they'll readjust and they'll try and get other laws through. Like, we're so totally past that. It's like they pushed like full luxury beliefs at a time when they destroyed the middle class economy. Right. It's like literally the two worst things to happen for them at once. It's like, look, the out of touch stuff. It's like, oh, look at our LGBT representation in the government. And meanwhile, it's like only 30% of people trust the federal government.
Right. Exactly.
what are you trying to do? So I think maybe it'll help them being like not in control of the levers of power. But we're really going to see, they've lost their mouthpiece. Like after Election Day, it became very clear that the mainstream media doesn't drive the narrative anymore. It's Twitter. And so normally their playbook would be to attack Trump and to undermine all his cabinet picks and to say his policies are racist or dangerous. And I don't think any of that's going to be effective. So it's almost like this position where Trump is just going to have to make. Here's the other one that people aren't talking about, too. Look back at 2016. Trump was an outsider. He didn't have experience in Washington. When Trump announced these picks, it was very much like, oh, look at name brand establishment GOP person that's coming into his. It was like, oh, everybody, oh, look, he's got Chris Christie. Oh, look, he's got Jeff Sessions. Now it's like, here is a wrecking ball. And everybody's like, great, I love that. And what everybody was voting for Trump into office, it was like, well, I don't know so much about him attacking China, but he's going to repeal Obamacare. Right. It was all about like legislative policies. They wanted his tax cut. They wanted Obamacare. Now they want a wrecking ball taken to the, it's like drain the swamp was a cute byline in 2016. It was like a tangential add-on to his campaign. Now it's the key piece. Like the Republicans, what do they have? Like a 1-vote majority now in the House. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They don't expect him to get any legislation through. They don't want that. They just want everybody fired, and that's what he can do because he runs the executive branch, and like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's no longer about draining the swamp. It's about draining it, filling it in, paving it over. just make sure it's gone. Yeah. And have you done any polling about whether or not he should go through the confirmation process or try to push things through with recess appointments? What do the people feel about that?
We haven't done recess appointments. We've done some confirmation stuff. Yeah, like I think it was beautiful though. Like even a month ago, you had people saying like, "Oh, look, we got so many new pickups in the Senate. We're going to have control of the Senate." And I was like, "Nah, are you really though?" Yeah. And of course, it was right because what real majority in the Senate do you need to get American First stuff through? It's probably like 65 to 35. But so I've been saying Trump has a mandate, and people have been undermining that, and they'll say, "Oh, he only won by 1.5," and I say, okay, well, he's got 3 branches of government, but here's the thing. His policies are way more popular than he is. So there is that. And then we have this question. In general, do you believe the Senate should approve President-elect Trump's choices for cabinet positions? Should the Senate play ball or should they resist, right, basically? And yes wins 55% to 33%. So only 1 out of 3 voters wants the Senate to just stand in the way of Trump's appointments for resist. And so I would say, like, resistance is dead because Harris got 48% of the electorate. Only 1/3 says resist Trump. I don't know if that's like their back is broken, they've capitulated, but it looks like even though Trump is a very still politically divisive figure, people are kind of like saying to go down and do what he said he's going to do, which is closer to your belief. President should choose cabinet officers he knows he can trust, or he should choose cabinet officers with experience in D.C. And trust wins 55% to 39%. So, again, Trump got 50% of the vote, but 55% of people are saying, like, no, just pick Trump people. And so 82% of Republicans.
That data you just said, again, contradicts what the media keeps pushing. The media keeps pushing that he's trying to push in ideologues and loyalists, when that's exactly what your data says people want. They want him to put in loyal people.
Exactly. Because they don't trust the government, because this election was a referendum on government overreach. The same government that was going to put unvaccinated people into camps, the same government that raided the home of a former president. That's the story here. The story is, listen, Kamala Harris probably did as good as she could with the Democrat machine. And the fact that they did that well is commendable, quite frankly. She took a hit for the team. I think she knew going into this she was going to lose. And if you know that, I think it explains a lot of her spending behavior that people are calling into question and stuff like that. This was a referendum on Biden's mismanagement because I think.
All right. So speaking about Biden's mismanagement, and as we saw earlier in this video, Zelensky showed up in France with Trump and Macron. So literally, not even, let's see, what time is it? Not even 15, 20 minutes ago, it just got announced that Biden is giving Ukraine another $1 billion. Just announced. Let's round it down to what it actually is. $988 million being sent over there. $1 billion. People in North Carolina can't get 700. And he just sent another $1 billion over there. Talk about people not trusting government, as Mark is saying here. That's specifically why people aren't trusting government. What is going on? $1 billion? Seriously? Our government is so corrupt, I don't think we even know how deep the corruption goes at this point. I think we're going to find out when Trump gets into office that he's going to have to pardon so many people because of this grift. The pardon list they may be right. It may be entire categories of people. There's no way they're going to be able to hide this. So right now, because he's doing whatever, doesn't care, just ship out as much money, steal it, do everything. And then watch what happens between, I don't know, maybe January 15th and January 19th. The pardon list is going to look like a rolling declaration, just name after name after name. They're going to get away with it, many of them. But I don't know. I haven't heard yet if the Constitution is going to allow preemptive pardons. People who haven't even been charged yet, that's going to have to be challenged. But you're telling me right before Christmas you're sending over another $1 billion of American money? Shame on you. Shame on these people. They're terrified. They know what's coming. They're trying to steal as much money as possible, and they don't care whether we know it or not. Like I've said, and like Mark's saying here, I don't think these people can get reelected or put back in office for quite some time, and I think they know it.
Biden lost this election for the Democrats in the fall of 2021 when he was getting troops killed in Afghanistan and when there was a supply chain crisis, and when there was 9% year-over-year inflation. that's when it was lost, in my opinion. So, yeah, of course, people want Trump to get. It's okay. They know what Trump is. He made it very clear what he's going to do. And does everybody support him? No. But when he wins 50% of the electorate, but 55% say, yeah, pick people you trust. Senate better confirm them. And oh, by the way, Trump's got a higher favorability rating than he's had in years too, 53%.
See, the one thing you can't pull, because you could pull the American people, but as long as these 100 senators aren't even listening to this and doing what they want because they've their own personal agenda, that drives me crazy.
Yeah,
I'm like, whenever the Democrats do something, it's like lock, stock, and barrel. They all come in mass and just give person a vote. And now you got to fight Republicans to get this stuff done. So I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I haven't dug into any interviews with anybody about the recess appointment stuff, but I hope he can push through and get this stuff put through. We need to try it.
Yeah.
We need to see it.
Yeah, and maybe there's wild cards there. I kind of joked about this, but it's like, okay, you won't confirm Kash Patel. Well, you can put him in as a temp, and he could see all of the compromise that the FBI is holding over the head of all these senators, anyways, right? So it's a self-correcting problem.
Exactly. Now I got to ask you a question, and this is personal, but not just to me, to a lot of people. I personally have never been polled in my life. My wife has never been polled in her life. In fact, the two of us don't know anyone who's actually been polled. A few people who watch our videos have been polled. Why is that? I mean, I've got I've got 2 cell phones. Yeah. I'm a registered voter. Never been polled.
I think you're going to see more and more of this. Here's a sad fact is that there will always be polling, and you need polling because if you don't, again, we're really one of the only ones out there saying that Republicans over and over again don't get what they vote for. Mm-hmm. We should be like the scorecard for elected representatives. And no, not very many people in the industry are doing that, to be honest with you. Most of the money in D.C. is all about lofty policy ideas. Mm-hmm. We're in the knife fighting trenches of every time there's a debt deal to be made, we're the ones telling Republicans and Democrats, majorities of everybody, even Democrats, want a government shutdown. This isn't like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't like 20 years ago, oh, we can't shut the government down because people won't like us. No, Mike Johnson, they are begging you. Shut the government down. Cut spending. They are begging you. Like, that's where we're at. Yeah. So you need polling. And if you don't, you turn into Venezuela. But you're also going to have more and more like fragmentation of the data. Mm-hmm. I can tell people if you want to get polled by Rasmussen, you need a landline phone that is not on the do not call list and will probably get to you eventually. Or you need to join an online panel aggregator to go through one of the panels. There's Metro Opinions, Servimo. I don't even know the names of the ones that we get them from. There's hundreds of them, and you can be on one of them, and you'll probably eventually get pulled by Rasmussen, but you'll get pulled by other people too. Right. We'll start doing cell phone based polling at some point. It just doesn't make economic sense for us yet. Right. But so many people have put themselves on do not call lists as well. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, if you're not going to pick up marketing calls, you're probably not going to pick up a poll either. Right. Mm-hmm. So some of it's your own self-selection. But the fact that we still get, like I said, I think we're reaching about between 1 million and 1.5 million. Reuters Ipsos, ABC Ipsos, they use the Ipsos panel. Their U.S.-based political panel only has 50,000 people in it. And they are one of the most prolific mainstream media pollsters out there. Wow. So this is going to be a problem that just gets worse and worse. And listen, you can poll anybody, and if it stands up over time and can be calibrated to real election results, it could be somewhat accurate. Like if you just flew to Iowa and stood outside of a few different places, like a Costco, a sports stadium, and just asked a few people something, you would be more accurate than Ann Seltzer, the gold standard pollster of Iowa. So there it is. And so I like that's data, right? I go to my kids' soccer games and I ask people who they're going to vote for. It's anecdotal data, but so is polling. Polling is anecdotal data. It's just calibrated so that it should be accurate.
So with all the data breaches we've seen and how Big Brother is watching data, some of the people who watch my videos have said they're reluctant to tell pollsters what they really feel. So how do you and other pollsters account for the type of people who may not give you the real response?
Well, I think part of it is we do have a name brand that our surveys are branded. People know it's a Rasmussen survey. And we've got a track record of 2 decades in business where we haven't had a data leak. But it is a problem. And so if you're super concerned about privacy, I would say, fine, like don't take anybody's polls.
Wow.
I think your data is safer with us than other people. But listen, we've been hacked. Like we've been swatted 3 times.
Wow.
You never know. At the end of the day, it's like, the government knows who your opinions as well.
Right.
And we have a lot more trust, I think, than the government does. But as for like the people who, ultimately what it comes down to is the electorate's a lot amorphous than people would expect. Because we did not get accurate this time by laser focusing in on exactly how many registered voters flipped from Democrat to Republican in Bucks County, PA. It wasn't like that. In fact, when I went in to wait Pennsylvania, and we nailed Pennsylvania, I went in to wait. I said, well, you know what? It's probably going to be similar to 2020. There's going to be some Republican pickups. There's probably going to be offset by Democrat ground game. And there will probably be an increase in suburban or rural turnout. So I didn't really change the weightings a little bit. I juiced the rural areas a little bit based on, and I was absolutely dead right. And that's because I knew what we did in 2020. I think we were 6 points to left. I made up some of that with the party weightings. And so it's like in that, I'm not getting the Amish.
Right.
But when I wait for party, it's like a certain amount of Republicans appeared in 2020. A similar amount will appear this time, but it will change some. So I will change my weighting some. It's not like, oh, hey, we have all of these different subsectors of demographics of you're anti-police state boomers. It all kind of disappears into the numbers.
Okay. Moving forward, and you as a traditional pollster, I couldn't wait to get your answer on this one. Moving forward, how much credence can people put into Pollmarket?
Okay, so you have your drunken uncle at a family gathering. He puts out an election prediction, okay? And he could be right. And what you would say, all right, this guy's predicting elections. Over time, has he been right or wrong? And maybe he gets it right every single year. And so that could be a gold standard predictor of elections. That's kind of like Alan Lichtman, whatever. I mean, that's like your drunken uncle is talking a lot before he says what his prediction is, but that's an election prediction.
Right.
We put out data. And so I could say, well, I think the data shows that Trump's going to win. That's what I was saying. But I'm showing you the data and saying, well, here's how it changed and here's why I think. And so I think people should flock to data sources.
Right.
And actually, I do think the betting market is an objective data source, but it comes with all kinds of caveats and warnings.
Okay.
And those are that, yes, it can be manipulated. We've seen that.
Right.
But it also can't all be manipulated. So you have to understand that it's like one of these state prediction markets on Pollmarket is pretty thinly traded. I think the entire national market, I did an analysis on this. In an 8-hour period, 6-hour period, the market moved 8 points towards Harris, and it did it on only 600,000 of net flows.
Okay.
So a relatively small amount of money can move that market. But the problem is that there's 60 other election markets. They can't move them all, right?
Right.
And so I think early on, people were cherry picking Pollmarket's data when it was being manipulated because it was a thinly traded market. It was early in the election cycle. And what I would go there for is to see what the knee-jerk reaction of the markets was to events. And this is how I was actually validating partly my hypothesis that people were locked in. because I would see like a major thing happen and I'd be like, well, am I going to see that in the numbers? And I go to Polymarkets and I'd be like, well, they're not budging, so probably not. But then what Polymarkets did do is that it beat the press in calling the election for Trump. And this is important. I was watching the individual state markets and they all flipped for Trump one at a time. After kind of the sequence of events was Polymarkets was a toss-up during the September debate. And it's all of the swing states were really close and it was neck and neck. And I think there was probably a lot of manipulation going on. But after the vice presidential debate, because the problem is a Polymarket national popular vote is tied. The polling national popular vote is tied. That probably means a Trump win. But then Polymarkets was deadlocked. So what I was seeing is like, is Polymarkets going to interpret the polling? And when it started was after the vice presidential debate. And so all of a sudden, everybody's looking around and saying, well, we expected something to come in and save us. And it was not Tim Walz. And then like within a day, the Pennsylvania Polymarket broke. And then it was like a cascade. And by October 14th, Polymarkets was saying Trump is sweeping the swing states. That was before me. Now, every single one of my polls showed that Trump was going to win, but I always had like Michigan or Wisconsin going to Harris. And so October 15th, Polymarket knew it before Atlas Intel. And so that's exactly what happened. And I mean, it was absolutely wild. So I think Polymarkets is something people should look at in future elections. I'm certainly going to. I don't know about Kalshi, but Polymarkets has really nice user interface. It had a lot of publicity. You want to look at the one that everybody is most deeply traded. And I mean, save yourself some trouble. Like, stop reading the New York Times. Don't go to ABC, Politico. And between my early polling and then Polymarkets, I think that's all you need to know.
Now, I have a question. I completely believe that. So he had said something earlier where he said at this point, X/Twitter has basically taken over the media. The news source right now is X, period. The ratings in the media have dropped so low that the powerhouse that X is really where things have moved to. And if they've moved to this position at this point in 2024, where do you think it's going to be in 2026? And where do you think it's going to be in 2028? These people are completely obsolete. So obsolete, I had seen a post earlier where it said that one of the reasons they were going through the Senate and they were talking to different senators, and I'm talking about Trump's team, they were telling these people, idiots that they are, stop listening to the media. What you're hearing on television and whatever the media is saying about you or saying about Pete Hegseth or Tulsi Gabbard, it's all BS. They have no power. If you vote yes for Pete Hegseth, they no longer have the power to hurt you. You better start looking over here, because these people on X, not just talking about high-profile people, but all the way down to your local district, all these people, they now control your future. And then within 24 hours of seeing that, where the guy was going from room to room and telling them, you better read this stuff, you better turn off the television, nobody's watching them, these people are in your hometown. John Cornyn flipped like that. Immediately flipped and went, yep, okay, I'm going to go with Pete Hegseth. Because now they started seeing all the way down. People in your hometown are hitting you. And now we're hearing about Joni Ernst getting cold feet. You know, there may be something more weird about Joni Ernst that comes out, but in essence, in talking to Mark and asking him about Polymarket, what he's actually saying, and if you listen closely, because I doubt many of you are going to go to a polling aggregate and sign up to be polled. Nope, that ain't going to happen. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving them my phone number. But what I do see happening, and he didn't mention this, but I'm going to bet you, somehow algorithmically, seeing what Elon Musk is doing, and seeing how he's got so much data that these guys here at YouTube don't have, the people at Rumble don't have, Facebook doesn't have. All the news, all the sentiment is being measured on X. By 2026, and definitely by 2028, the polling data will be on X. They will be able to tell you that people in Chicago, down to the zip code, feel a certain way. These polling people who don't understand what's about to happen are going to be made obsolete because most of them rely on the media. You'll see the CNN poll, the New York Times / Siena poll. Nobody's listening to them, but CBS will report it, CBS YouGov. You see, the media, most of the pollsters without the media attachment have no voice. They can't get their word out, which is different than what Mark Mitchell is doing at Rasmussen. He's building a huge presence, online, talking to people, doing interviews, talking to Benny Johnson, talking to Patrick Bet-David, getting out there, building his social profile on X. The other ones aren't doing that. There's no face. There's no face to YouGov. There's no face to all of these things, Siena. There's no face. And so now what's going to happen by 2026, I am almost positive Elon Musk is going to have all of the data that used to go to these media-based polls, and they'll be out of business. There'll be no way that they can compete. A landline? No. What happens? Well, I don't know if you guys know this right now. But let me see if I can even pull it up. If I could show you on the screen. Did you know? And I think you have to be a premium member. But if you're a premium member, let me see if I can pull this up. This is Robin's Twitter. And you probably can't see it. But way up here in the corner, you see that thing right there? You see that thing looks like a telephone? You can actually make phone calls directly through X. You don't need to have AT&T. You don't have to have T-Mobile. I could click on that right now and make a phone call to her. I think I've done it once before on air. Let me just show you. She's in the shower getting ready for dinner, so I'm not really sure if she'll pick up. But boom, there it is. I'm calling her. Right there. Right through X. Free. She won't pick up, but that's good. So if now in 2024 I can make a phone call right through X and it's free. And it's basically, between two people. What happens when Elon starts doing polls and he hits a button and it goes out to all these different X subscribers? See, there's a reason why he's pushing the premium service, and he doesn't need the money. The guy's got $355 billion. But these are, I think this might be reserved for premium. And so now he knows, just by me hitting that number, he knows, one, who I talk to. Number two, he knows the zip code, where I am, blah, 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 because you have to give your information. Just imagine algorithmically where that goes by 2026 and 2028. Just saying, he's going to have all the data. Maybe that's why he's so close to Trump. He's learning, how does this stuff work, and how can I put data in the mix of all this so that I can extract data and use it for future elections. Keep that in mind. For you and your own data sets and everything you're putting together, this might be something that you may be looking at with your partners and people you work with. With the emergence of AI, what does the future of polling look like infused with some sort of AI?
Some people are using AI in the polling industry, believe it or not. There was actually a startup that came out that said, well, polling is inaccurate, and so we are going to create AI agents to respond to polls, basically poll fake people. And I came from the VC space, and my first thing was like, what a dumb idea, because there's no polling in being accurate, or no money in being accurate in the polling industry. There's just not.
Okay.
I think I could objectively say I'm the most accurate pollster, and we are probably of the most limited means of anybody in the industry. So that's not where the money is. It's in propaganda.
Okay.
And yet I think those people failed miserably and did a mea culpa and tried to explain it away with reasons. But people are using AI, I think, to screen garbage data out, which is a really valid use. So it'll probably be in like analytics and like presentation and stuff like that. And maybe they'll have like live operators that can deliver the surveys in a less biased manner.
Okay.
That would be a good use. That would probably make my competitors better. And so I don't know if I like it, but if there's some way I can benefit, I'll do it for sure. As a tool.
Now I have a question. As we saw in this election, Trump and Kamala had completely different roads in which they went. Kamala went the tried and what was tried and true road of using celebrities and endorsements and all this kind of stuff. Have you done any polling to show the effectiveness of having Beyonce and John Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen come out versus just getting out there and talking yourself?
Yeah, we absolutely did. I mean, this was a really big point of interest. And I can tell you, I think these numbers are very telling, but I think there's an even deeper one. I'm trying to pull it up. But basically, we asked how much difference did endorsements by celebrities make in terms of your vote? And only 11% said a lot of difference. 12% said some difference. The thing is with that question, though, a lot of these people saying a lot of difference are saying it's because like they know their candidate of choice got an important endorsement, and they were more happy that the endorsement happened. It didn't actually change their mind. Right. I think very few people changed their mind here. But I think like the deeper trend, we asked this one question. It's like, does Kamala Harris... What does a country need most? More of the same or a fresh start in a new direction? And fresh start in a new direction won by, I don't know, it was like something like 70-30. Very few people think we need more of the same. And then when we ask, okay, well, is Kamala Harris more of the same or is Donald Trump more of the same? Donald Trump, even though he was a former president, even though he's been on the political stage way more than Kamala Harris, was the candidate that everybody says was the fresh start and new direction candidate. Kamala Harris was more of the same.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, it wasn't like mass. It was like a 20-point difference, a very, very strong difference. And so if you're the candidate that is less perceived to be a fresh start in a new direction, don't run the playbook that you've been using for 20 years.
Exactly.
Like, what worked for Obama in 2008, the country is very different.
Right.
And so, like, there's a million ways you can measure this. One of the things I did was I pulled up Google Trends. And I said, all right, like, what's something old school that everybody's familiar with? And I searched movie trailers because that's kind of how she ran her campaign. She packaged everything into movie trailers, you know, or highly produced SNL appearances, things like that. And then podcast. And well, the answer is over the last 20 years, search volume for podcast is up like a couple 100%. And movie trailer searches have crashed because people crave authenticity and a personal connection. And that's literally not how she ran her campaign. She avoided personal connections. Now, people could say, well, it's because she had a weak hand of cards, knew that she would fail. Valid point. But then don't pick her, right? But in an era of authenticity, and this goes back to the bench that you were talking about too. Name me the most authentic Democrat current potential candidate.
I can't. I mean, I heard they're talking about AOC, and I'm like, that would be even worse of a nightmare than Kamala.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She is kind of authentic, but it's like, okay, but people don't like her. That might be a little different. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we know who she is. She's made it quite clear. Right. She's not hiding behind a veneer of Hollywood glitz and glamour. I mean, she does the photo shoots at the border, but she goes on podcasts and talks and has validly formed ideas that, like, you know, but like compared to Gavin Newsom, that man is a walking poster child of inauthenticity.
Exactly.
I mean, who else? Like Whitmer with the Doritos.
Bernie is probably the only one who's authentic, but he's 88 years old or whatever, you know?
Yeah, well, and he's shown twice that the death threat in the lake house is a very effective thing. I mean, I joke, but that is literally what would happen. And you have to wonder what the power structure is like behind the Democrat Party,
right? Where
they can't have an authentic champion of the working people. They can't have it. And it's probably because of all the corporate interests that have co-opted the movement. And that's what, again, this is so wild. It's such a new paradigm in politics. Because I was just thinking, let's list all of the enemies that Trump has made in this campaign. It's really wild. Big agriculture, big pharma, big healthcare, big food, big military, big intel, big tech, who else? Big education, you know what I mean? Big e-commerce, literally everybody.
Big tech seems to be crawling back slowly. I even saw Jeff Bezos said something yesterday that, he wants to work with Trump. So you got Bezos, Zuckerberg, obviously Elon Musk. Who knows what the people here at Google or YouTube are going to do? But I
don't believe those people for a second.
No,
I don't believe them for a second. No.
They're trying to save their
this
butt.
is like, oh shoot, yeah, we got to keep our stock from crashing. Because think about what a 25% tariff would do to the products on Amazon or Walmart.
Oh wow!
It would be it would be absolutely incredible. And it's like, well, that's why. And listen, disruption is good. Again, I came from a tech and investing background for the last 10 years. We want disruption.
Right.
The fact that Amazon's a great business, but that doesn't mean it should be able to insulate itself with other businesses that have nothing to do with the core e-commerce business. And yet I work for a competitor of Amazon, and I can tell you there's really nothing in the country that can compete.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, if you see a trade war or tariffs or something like that disrupt a supply chain, the Walmart supply chain is optimized to shovel stuff from China into a store in America across the country. And you put a tariff on that, the entire thing gets flipped on its head somehow. And maybe it's like, well, all of the prices in Walmart go up 25 to 30%. Maybe that's all that happens, but maybe people shop in different ways, or maybe there's more manufacturing in the U.S. I would love to see it. I don't know if it happens fast. I don't know if it happens smoothly. I know the guy to talk to, though, because Navarro is just part of the campaign, though, so I want to get his opinions at some point. But wild new paradigm.
We're going
to see so much change.
Navarro just got nominated as well for a position. So he's not just part of the campaign. He's part of the team now. Did you see that?
I mean, it is the position. It is the position to understand this change. He's the senior advisor of trade, I believe.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about here. It could be wild. We're talking about punitive tariffs on Mexico, where Mexico is a pretty big supplier into the U.S. and many industries. Listen, the amount of economic change that might just happen from the massive deportation plans is totally incredible too. You see two sides of that argument. You see people who say, well, first off, I will say, from a public opinion perspective, 64% support mass deportation starting day one. We asked that. We said, Trump said this. Do you want it? 64% of people say yes. Wow. That's a mandate. People want, and we actually asked if you could only pick between a 100% deportation candidate or a 100% amnesty candidate, which would you pick? And massive deportation, 100% deportation won 53 to 35. Wow. So in the battleground states. So it's like, sharks in a moat with laser beams level of get these people out. And that's what the Democrats didn't understand. So imagine going on Fox News and trying to argue with Brett Baer that you don't have any accountability for something that Americans, it's like undecided voters wanted to put Kamala Harris into the illegal alien catapult and shoot her after that performance. That's the level that we're talking about here. So I see two sides, and I see, people are going to have to, moderate their expectations. We can't deport all these people immediately. But then I also say, well, there's a lot of smart people, and Trump has shown that he's willing to think outside the box. And you could put a massive tariff on financial remittances, and you could mandate federally verify, and all of a sudden, a couple million people will deport themselves.
Yeah, they'll be gone.
So, yeah. And then, like, what happens to the housing market? What happens to food prices? Oh, they can't pick those. No, there will be jobs. People will pick the stuff. It'll go up in price. But now you have 4 million less people consuming in the country. What happens to the construction industry? So, like, massive questions. I mean, and I think, but again, disruption's good. Like, that's what we need. It's to break this cycle of ever increasing oligarchy.
Well, speaking of disruption, and you were talking about the different paths between the entertainers and the endorsements and things of that nature. Now you're looking at RFK Jr. coming in, and he has said he wants to cut pharmaceutical advertising from the media, which some of them rely on, as the numbers anywhere between 60 to 75% of their revenue is from pharmaceutical advertising. So if you're talking about a mode of publicity that's already not believed, is already tanking, their ratings are done, now you're pulling out their financial incentive. How can the media be a vehicle for the left to move forward if they don't have the ability to use podcasts and get out there and talk to people?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's another one that's totally up in the air right now. And it's not just the fact that linear television might lose their cash cow, to be honest with you. I haven't watched cable since November 4th, 2020. But we watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade last year or something like that. I think in the span of an hour, I counted like 26 pharmaceutical advertisements. It's huge business. And I forget who it was. Maybe it was Callie Mean. Somebody came out and said, well, like, basically this is their way. It's not actually changing anybody's minds. It's not actually marketing their drugs. It's their way of maintaining control over the narratives on TV. If that goes away, not only the financial rug, but like one of the major ideological hammers that's used to keep these people in line disappears. And then they have definitely weaponized the mutual behavior of the advertisers, and the fact that people are considering coming back to Twitter to advertise is also mind-blowing, because even though the left is trying to build up Blue Sky, what you're not going to see is like Disney advertising on Blue Sky, probably. You're not going to see that.
Nope.
You might see them come back to Twitter, though, because that's the dollars telling you that Twitter is still the town square. But what I'd love to see, and also maybe I can get this across RFK's desk, the big problem isn't also the advertising. It's all of these financial incentives to primary care physicians to diagnose and prescribe all of these medications, and not actually treat. Like, that's, in my opinion, all of the kickbacks you get for putting people on statins and stuff like that. What an upset that might be, because that's where a lot of the problem is.
It's incredible. And if you look at her filings and how much she spent on traditional advertising, it seems like they're going to have to completely change their entire operation in terms of how they move forward. And they don't have, as they've been lamenting, they don't have the Joe Rogans, they don't have the Theo Von, they don't have those big names out there. And manufacturing them isn't going to work, because, I mean, you look at guys like the Midas Touch, they've got a good audience, but there aren't a whole lot of them that have really huge audiences. Even the Young Turks, those guys are starting to look at them kind of side-eyed and said, that's not where we want to go either. So what's the future for Rasmussen, and where do you guys see your place moving forward in the polling industry, and where do you want to be?
I haven't heard of the Midas Touch. I'm looking them up quick. I heard something really clever that Tim Pool said the other day, which is that, no, they did have Joe Rogan. They did have Tim Pool. They had these people.
They had Elon Musk. They had Elon Musk.
Yeah, they
too.
lost them. They shoved them over the fence. They said, nope, you're not ideologically pure enough. The cult kicked them out. I would say that media is fragmenting, and if you're going to be a new Joe Rogan, you have to be really good to rise above the rest of everybody else. I think media fragmenting is amazing. What an incredible election night. I was on 12 different streams There's so many great people, and what's cool is it's coming together as a community, and I feel like I'm a part of it. And listen, this isn't, in my opinion, about political ideology. This is about maintaining truth and reality, which is the pendulum swinging back from where it's been for. And I think that's everybody that I've talked to on any show I've been on would agree with. And I think that positions public opinion very well, because what I want to be, like I said, is the report card for elected representatives. And if I can increase my footprint and listen, like public opinion, it's tough. It's not the world's most exciting topic, but if I can increase my footprint enough so that actual lawmakers will look at what we're saying, I think everybody wins. And maybe we'll see. I don't know. We had 2 Senate offices reach out to it. Last 4 years, we've polled on a lot of topics that have made us enemies to many people. And it's things that we all did at our own financial detriment, but because we thought it was the right thing for voters. Vaccine averse events, election integrity, weaponization of the government. It did not make us any friends on the right either, to be honest with you, because if people were interested, they would have reached out to us. We talked about abortion. If people wanted to win on the issue of abortion, they probably would have used some of our polling, but nobody looked at it or cared. And finally, this cycle, right before the election, 2 senators said, "Oh, I heard you polled about election integrity. Oh, I heard you polled about vaccine safety." That's what we want. They should be looking at that. And I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but so that's what I'm going to try and do, is try and increase our footprint, shove boring numbers down people's throats so that I can try and get voters more of what they wanted.
In closing here, and thank you for your time. I didn't know if I was going to take up so much time. What are you going to be polling moving forward from the inauguration and before you get into 2026 polling? So what is your focus going to be on, let's say, next 12 months? Or let me rephrase that. When do you start polling for 2026? And then what are you going to be polling right after the inauguration?
So right now we're polling about Christmas shopping behavior and, the religious aspects of Christian, that kind of stuff. We're still polling on the cabinet picks. And we're going to spend a lot of time focus on energy on whatever plans Trump, the congeal that Trump's going to kick off as he enters office. But I think it's going to be challenging because, to be honest with you, we poll fast and we've had a hard time keeping up with this news cycle. Just look at how fast the Hegseth thing played out. It's like, oh, he's in. Oh, something came out. Oh, but it was fake. Oh, but they're still trying to take him out. Oh, but now all 6 senators behind him. It's been like 4 days. It's tough to poll on that. And I think when in the previous paradigms, it was Trump is pushing this tax cut. It's going to take 6 months for them to write this law. I don't think we're there anymore. So it'll be a lot of reactive stuff. It'll be on gauging the impact of all of his governmental changes and different aspects of the deportation effort that come up. Probably a lot to pull on Ukraine, probably a lot of stuff happening with the risk of World War III and of things spiraling out of control in the Middle East. And I think the election matchups, we'll wait. I think it's premature to just go out and throw Kamala Harris and Vance. Definitely not the right time. So we'll wait till at least March or April, see who shows up, see what kind of bench they have, and we'll start doing Democrat primary polling as people make their names clear. But I'll tell you, like the early stuff we've done, Kamala Harris is still the winner, and that's really kind of sad for them.
Wow.
And it's, she's had $2 billion of name recognition, so that's why. But Democrats say by a plurality that she's the best path forward for the party.
Please.
Not good.
You mentioned something just now. I know I said in closing, but when you said something, it just it triggered me. You mentioned Ukraine. Have you ever done any numbers on people approving of the money being sent over there?
We've done so much polling on Ukraine. And here's the thing, is it's kind of been like a wash. Really hard for me to recall, because one of the unfortunate realities is that even though Republican Party is the party of Trump and MAGA? We asked that question. 80% of Republicans agree. There are still strong neoconservative roots in U.S. Republican voters. So Republicans are less likely to say that Russia is an enemy. They're more likely to say China than Democrat voters. And they're also more likely to say that Ukraine is losing, but not by much.
Okay.
And when we ask the question, is the U.S. doing too much or too little in Ukraine? And Republicans more than Democrats say too much. But, I mean, the numbers weren't strong. Maybe it was like 50-30 or something like that. So nothing really that stood out. And it's like they don't like it, but we have an invasion on our own southern border.
Exactly.
We've had an affordability. That's what's getting people's attention.
Right.
Global conflict and war. It's great to say that Trump's going to come in and clean stuff up. We actually tested on, under Trump, we had mean tweets and world peace. Do you agree? Strong majority agreed.
Okay.
So, but global conflicts and war, when you ask from an issue perspective, it's only the number one issue for like 6, 7, 8% of the people. And a lot of them, it's like, oh, free Palestine. It's not really Ukraine, which is sad because now they're talking about drafting women in Ukraine. It's gotten that bad. It's such a disgusting, sick thing. And there's really effective propaganda and gaslighting still on that issue. It's the problem where, like, I know there's gaslighting on the border, but then I'm just going to read a New York Times article about Ukraine and take those numbers for fact. Like, a lot of people still do that. And it's, oh, you can't take the RT numbers. So it's like, no, but the truth's probably somewhere in the middle, right? It's like Ukraine probably has lost about 500,000 people since they're now drafting women. No, those are Russian propaganda numbers. No.
So what do you think the likelihood of, let me just pick those two, Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth getting confirmed?
We asked Pete Hegseth today. I think overall, where's the question? How likely is it that Senate will confirm most of Trump's cabinet choices? This is how a pollster would like to answer this question. Personally, I think Trump's got a plan. There's something probably going behind the scenes that we don't know about. But 74% of voters think it's likely that Trump's cabinet picks in general will be confirmed by the Senate, including 67% of Democrats and 89% of Republicans. So what I'm saying here is I'm using those numbers to say that, again, Trump has a mandate. Again, Senate Republicans understand that the Republican Party is now the party of MAGA and Trump. He proved it with this election. Get in line or there will be ramifications. And they're being told that from other sources as well. They're being told by Elon they're getting primary challenges.
Right. That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time. I have your Twitter or /X handle in your lower third here. Is there anything else you'd like people to go take a look at Rasmussen's reports itself, the website? What would you like to push right now?
I would just like to say, everybody think back to the last 4 months. Go look at the Real Clear Politics aggregate and imagine what it would have been like without our company here. It would have been a wall of blue. Every single pollster would have had Kamala Harris winning the national popular vote. And we didn't. We were alone. We got attacked and pilloried, and yet we were right, as we have been in the past. We're not perfect, but we're doing our best, and we need people's support. So you can go to RasmussenReports.com as our website. It's not the world's best website, but we're working on it. Would love for people to at least sign up for a free daily newsletter. It helps us from a marketing perspective. Or if people want to sign up for a reader, it's like, your normal $5 a month. And you can read the stories as they come out. It's the way we're supported, and it's why we're not Democrat propaganda.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time. I'd like to bring you back on a live show because that way you'll see all these questions from people. I'll have to bring another moderator in, but people love to be able to. They see a lot of interviews, and they're all over the place. You've been on Benny's show, you've been on, with Steve Bannon, but people love the interaction. And if you'd like to do a live show, let me know, let Ashley know. We'd love to bring you on.
Yeah, that'd be great. I love answering audience questions, and I don't get to do it enough. I got to do my own live show at some point. But yeah, I'd really love to. Just say when, and I'll do it.
All right.
I got all the time in the world now that there's no election. Nice 4-year hiatus.
Well, I hope you have a beautiful, safe, and happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whichever way it is for you. And I hope you have a very prosperous new year, and we'll talk to you right after the first of the year.
You as well. Thanks so much.
All right. All right, so that was my interview that Ashley set up with Mark Mitchell. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know he's a numbers guy. When you're talking about polling and things of that nature, it can get kind of into the weeds, but I think it's good for people to get into the weeds. You start understanding what's going on behind the scenes as these things move forward. And the other thing I love about these interviews, and I just want to tell you something, because I watch the numbers on our channel and how many people stay, how many people leave. I don't want to do any interviews like they do on television, because when you do an interview on television, and all of us have seen them, whether it's Fox, whether it's CNN, wherever, they're on screen for about, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. That's it. That's what a hit is in media. They'll bring you on to talk for a few minutes, and there's a commercial, and then they're on to the next story. Very few people out there will do an in-depth interview, and the people we've spoken to thus far, they're like, my first question to them is, how much time do you have? I'm like, well, as much time as you need. I'm like, are you sure? Because we may go an hour and a half. And what I've noticed thus far with Zach, the Border Patrol agent, Steve, who was the FBI guy, FBI informer, Mark with this one. I've got another one in the can with the crypto guy, Kim, who is a J6er. Once you start talking to people and getting in deeper than what, is a normal, hi, how you doing? We're into it for an hour and a half, and you realize these people want to talk. They want to be given the opportunity to tell people, this is what I do, this is what I see, this is what I run into. And I want to make sure that people understand my focus here is to make sure I have as much information for you, and that you can also come back and watch wherever you had to check out. You're like, okay, he got into this, he got into that, let me come back. The value that I think these interviews are giving you is just that. It's a whole lot of information you are not going to hear on television. You may hear a piece here, you may hear a piece there. For instance, when we were talking to Steve Friend, the FBI, he was on Benny. He was on with Glenn Beck, and then there was a question I asked him, and he's like, "Well, nobody's asked me," and then he told us the answer to that question. That's what I want, and so I've done them pre-recorded because when people start talking for an hour and a half, they've not done that before. And I wanted to show them, hey, listen, here's how we're going to flow, and here's how we're going to talk. Here's what we're going to pull out of you. Here's what we're going to try. Now that they've done it, hey, you ready to do it live? Because now the next step is to bring these people back to do a live interview and let you talk to them. That's the difference you won't see on television. You won't see it on most of the YouTubers. When you can talk to Zach Apotheker, that Border Patrol agent, and I can talk to him for a couple of minutes and say, hey, Zach, let's take questions from the audience. And you guys can pop in questions and then go live on the screen, and he'll answer them. That is going to be a whole different vein moving forward, and I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys will understand that's where the vision is. And it's funny, I just ran a late poll, and in the poll here I ran has, excuse me, almost better, 818 votes thus far. I said, do you want me to do more of these interviews? 81% of the people said, yes, continue. So you're going to get them. And Ashley has been doing a great job. She's got some people lined up. She's got some people may turn your head, may indeed turn your head. We're going to be, and the more we do, the more people say, hey, I want to go on Barry's show. Can I talk for an hour? Sure. Come on. You're not stuck to that 2 or 3 minute hit on television so they can go to the next segment. It's all yours. And most people don't have that. They don't have the audience. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so let's take some comments here I want to tell you from earlier. Very brilliant analysis of Trump's alpha dog handshake. You got to be the alpha dog to recognize that the alpha dog. Wayne says, I never do a show on weekends. a second show. Well, here's where we're going. It's obviously the holidays. Christmas is coming in 18 days. And then, of course, New Year's. And then in between, the time period for the next 30 days, let's see how things go. But what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take weekends off completely starting on the 15th. Unless there's some amazing breaking news, I'm going to spend some time with the family. Going to head up to North Carolina as well, spend some time with Ashley and the kids. And so take the weekends off completely. I'm going to do more during the week. I'm going to try and do this morning ride-along video, which will be a pre-record. Then we'll do live at 3:30 or 2 o'clock, depending on which time we decide. And then hopefully we'll begin doing more interviews and the night shows. So that's the plan. But from December 15th on, we're going to pull back a little bit and give thanks and spend some time with the family, and encourage you to go spend some time with the family as well. So that's what I want to do there. I pay a monthly bill to make calls on my cell phone. Why would I pay for X premium just to make calls? Because you're not just paying to make calls. That's your answer. If you get involved in X, which let me just bring that up, because you're sounding like someone who may not have experience on X, you can join us in our free group to learn more about what X is and how to use it. You just go to fanfareshop.org/group and join. Getting close to 12,000 fellow patriots right now. So the idea is here, you get used to it and you start creating content. And then you start seeing how other people create content. And you start interacting with people. This, what can I call it? This bulldozer, this thing that, what do you call that thing that paves the road and just, it's destroying the media. If you don't begin learning X now for free, don't even pay. If just for free and start learning it, you're going to be left behind. How do I know this? Because that's what's happening to the media right now. If you're waiting for the media to give you news, it's already stale milk. While I was talking and going back and playing this interview, my phone's dinging me. Ding, 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 ding. Did you see this? Did you see this? And I'm like, how can I see it? I'm doing the show. And it's like, boom. They decide to give Ukraine another $1 billion. That's on X. By the time they do the makeup and the hair and get everybody in front of a camera, it's already been on X. We've already seen it. Every single one of the videos I showed you about Trump this morning, when I started this show, every single piece was pulled from X. You think I'm sitting here recording stuff and then pulling it down and downloading it? No, these cuts are directly from X. I get so much of my show content from X from so many different sources. It's amazing. So you're not just going to be paying, quote, for a phone call or the ability to make calls. It's all the other stuff that you don't know right now. And I know this one scares a lot of people. A lot of people. AI. You can begin learning AI very safely, very protected by just playing around with Grok. Grok is one of the tools that you get to use as a premium member, which I think is like $9 a month. We're not talking anything exorbitant. And depending on whatever you do, you will find a value in using Grok as an AI. For instance, Robin is a painter. She likes doing watercolors. She came to me, she goes, tell me what this AI stuff is like. And I said, go ahead and type it in, anything you want. And so she goes, show me a picture of an octopus with bright coral around it, with other fish swimming in the background, and a dolphin coming by. And in about 6 seconds, boom. And she's like, what? And I said, the magic is in the prompt. You can say, put this in the foreground, put this in the background. Long story short, she started getting into being a prompt, developing prompts. And now she'll take that picture and she'll paint it. She's like, I have a vision, but I don't really know yet how it should look. Oh, that's how I can paint it. That's just one instance. It's amazing what you can come up with. I use AI all the time. I'm not looking at porn. I'm not looking at doing crazy stuff. I'm not writing term papers, but I'll use AI to say, can you phrase this differently? And can you put Trump with, a picture of an army? I'm like, okay, I can use that picture as my thumbnail. So there's all kinds of different things. Don't get yourself all wrapped up in, AI is bad. Don't worry about that. I think all the podcasters need to let these Republican senators know that we will run a campaign against them for being a rhino. Did it. I actually posted out there and said, I am ready to destroy, in whatever I can do, I'm willing to destroy Joni Ernst. So any of you guys out there who are going to try and damage Trump's agenda here, his mandate, there are a lot of people out there who are willing to, look up this, look up that, contact this person, contact that person. The media no longer has that strength. They've been eviscerated. They've been neutered. You now have that strength. So absolutely. I'm starting to get concerned about Elon going everywhere with Trump. I'm not concerned. I'm just wondering why. There's something going on that we don't know yet. Like I said, is it data? Is it him? 'Cause he's not running for president. There's no way he would want to run for any office. He is a citizen, by the way. So I saw some people say he's not. He is a citizen, but this man doesn't want to be president. This man has no design on doing that. There's another reason. Is it security? I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out. I'm like, what? What would he have him there for? It maybe is something as simple as he trusts his judgment. And he may say to him, just keep your eyes open. Tell me what you see. Tell me what you think when you see this and see that. What should we do when you know what I mean? Someone who he trusts. This guy is very, very smart. He's a rocket scientist. He may be seeing things and maybe saying, just let me know what you think when you see this. Could be that simple. What's this? Barry, do you believe that this trip might have been a mess up due to the court thing, unless he got an okay or his passport wasn't taken from him? Good point. Maybe Mershon or whoever releases his passport. Good point. Barry, did you notice that the real Secret Service looks like? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I looked at how the people were operating around him, and it looks much, much different. But I also didn't notice them being American Secret Service yet. Maybe it's a mix of private people. I don't know. Barry, I'm French. The journalists were very excited talking about Trump. They also said the security was extra for him. They are not taking any chances. Very smart for them. Very, 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 very smart. So maybe that's what I don't speak French. I have no idea. So maybe that what I was making fun earlier, people will actually see it. Consider Elon a shrewd observer. Yep. Max, I think watching his 6. Exactly. What else we have? Trust Trump and his adventures. Elon is shadowing Trump. Yeah, there's something there. We don't know right now, but there's obviously, and it's never announced. It's not like Elon and Trump will be traveling to here or there. He just shows up. He just maybe he is an Avenger. I don't know. It's crazy. Very good, friend. Very good point. Yeah, exactly. I don't know, but something's there. He's looking. Elon has security as well. Muriel says might be doubling up on security. Yep. Maria Grout. Thank you so much, Mr. Cunningham. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking through it. And like I said, these interviews, some what's this say? Some of these interviews might be your cup of tea. Some might not. We're going to try a bunch of different things. We're going to get some politicians on. Yep, we're going to have politicians on some of these interviews, people in business, and I think there's value to all of it because it opens up your mind and it gets you to a perspective of who these people are, what motivates them. And again, the length of time and the amount of questions that they're willing to answer. Maybe next time, here's what I'll do is I'll tell you I'm going to interview this person or that person, and maybe you guys can send me questions. And I can look at the top questions. I really, really want to make this as interactive as possible. All right, so let me go ahead and get to Super Chats if there are any. And then I can take my wife to dinner. Okay, here we go. Tommy Radcliffe, the guitarist. X is the alpha and omega of instant truthful news. Yeah. Don't be afraid of it. I saw some people going, it's too confusing. That's why you should join our free group and get your sea legs under you. Anthony Semino, do you have to pay the people for their interviews? Nope. 2 things. None of these people are paid. Nope, not a single dime. Number 2, they don't know the questions in advance. Number 3, they are once you start asking the questions, they realize you have some interest in what they're saying and you know what they're talking about. Doors fly wide open. Ernst Walker, Barry's Roundtable interviews. I'd love to get you guys involved in them. Your greatest interview, Barry. I can't wait for you to interview DJT someday. I would freak out. I would freak out if he came on. Christopher Smock, Barry, great content again. Red Pill Show again. Somebody had said, or a couple people said, hey, you said the big A word. Are you going to get in trouble? I want to see, because I wasn't denigrating the A word. I was just talking about data. Here are some numbers about what people feel about it. Are we not allowed to even discuss data? Who knows? I didn't say, neither Mark nor I said anything negative about it. We just talked about the data. Neo, thanks Barry and Ashley. Love the interview. Thank you very, very much. Tommy again, Barry is officially big time. Mitchell has been on the biggest shows. Great. And again, if you have an idea that you'd like to hear from somebody, make sure you hit up Ashley in the chat and say, hey, we'd love to hear from this person or that person. Even if you see them on somebody else's show, if you see them on Benny, if you see them on PBD, if you see them on other shows, the thing that we'll do different here is that we're letting them know you're going to be here for a while. This ain't no 10 or 15 minute interview. We're going to talk to you for about an hour. Now that I got comfortable with it, I'm letting them know you're going to be here for an hour. James Kipp, in the DC power vacuum, Trump's already acting as president. It's a 1A from the reaction Trump received by world leaders. Yep, we're seeing that in real time. Big Cat, thank you for a Saturday show. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see here. Donna, every time I look at Biden, I cringe, and every time he sends money to Ukraine, I cry. Oh, about that. So this last thing where he just sent all this $1 billion over, I was reading more while we were doing the interview. It seems as though this is a contract. So, he's put his name on it as the president of the United States. I guess you can't break a contract. But I'm pretty sure Trump can probably tell the other guy, Zelensky, we're not going to do that. And if you make us stay to this contract, here's what we're going to do. Just watch what happens. Be careful. Not careful, but he should be careful. Meatballs. What is the name of the music over the outro? Outro or the intro? Over the outro? No, it's just what do you call it? Royalty-free music. I'll look at the song, which I'm about to change up too. About to change it the entire by the first of the year. You're gonna see a whole different kind of intro. Yeah, it's gonna be funny, fun, not funny. I think Biden will end up having to charge people with the crime that he is pardoned them for. No chance the Supreme Court will uphold blanket pardons. You're right, Todd. This is completely out of hand. Completely out of hand. Mr. Berry, please show us the post of the money Biden sent to. Let me see if I can pull that up. But I got to run because I got to take Robin to dinner. Let's see here. Fernando Cardenas and Melania. I'm not sure what that was for. Rick Nelson. Hey, Rick. Thank you very much. Keep up the information flow. You're awesome. Thank you very much. See how I keep getting texted by people? This is from Tommy. You read my mind, pull them. Hoodie giveaway and drum roll. Folks are looking for hoodies. Hoodies. All right. Thank you, Rick. Thank you very much for that. Let me go to this one. Tommy Radcliffe again. Thanks, Barry, and everyone. Glad it worked out and you liked it. I have more if you guys want. Barry needs your email. Don't remember how I sent the first one. Oh, you sent it to me on. You were in the group and you posted it. That's how I got it. Actually, that's easier to download a video, by the way. Jennifer Gray, love your show, Barry. Thank you very much. Rick Nelson again. Thank you, Barry. You are the best. Donna again. Zelensky looked like a slob. He won't wear a suit unless he's asked to. Trump told him you gotta have to put one on. So if you're gonna come see Trump, you better have the suit on. He won't let you in. Matthew Kinney, the way the Dems get back is the same way they did before, sickness. Yeah, I heard that too. I heard that guy who talked about something's gonna drop in. I hope they don't try that again. I hope these people have no way of winning, so this is all they're going to try and do. Mr. Krabs, what is JD up to? He was just in North Carolina, so that's where he was. They probably can't travel together at this point, too dangerous. Mark Reality, legend has it that Elon's security team is made up of very well-paid former Special Forces guy. That would make a lot of sense. Chapo, God doesn't ready the equipped, he equips the ready. Trump was not ready last time, but he is now, and God is equipping him with the right people. I completely agree with you on that. All right, so I didn't know we were doing hoodies today, but SV told me we got to do hoodies, so let me go back to my other window and go to the hoodie screen. And I won't forget the drum roll, so we'll be good there. All right, let me pull this over here so I can have it. And there it is. Okay. And I'll move this over here, and let's do a drawing. All right, we're going to pick a new winner. And so before I pick the winner, let me go with Tommy's drum roll. Where the hell did it go? Okay, here we go. Let me make sure it's playing. Put my ears back in. And boom. All right, and Michael Osborne, you getting a new hoodie just in time for being up north. I assume you're up north. And let's go with another one and play the music. Dexter Haynes, you get a new hoodie. And one more for the road. And let's do this. Teresa Gonzalez. Congratulations to the three of you. I hope you wear them well. I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend. Thank you for tuning in to a longer show than usual. Hope you enjoyed the interview. We're going to do more of those. Have a great weekend. Tomorrow, you'll see the notification. Don't know at this point what's going on unless I can hear some more stuff about France and more stuff about Ukraine. But in any event, have a great weekend. We're going to go see a Christmas concert. Talk to you tomorrow.